Hello friends, and welcome to today's show. It's race weekend in Talladega, and I am not in Talladega. I am instead in the heart of Dixie, and if you remember which license plate that was on, put it in the chat. But anyway, I got to get moving because this morning's been a little frustrating, gotta admit it. So why don't you ride with me and I'll tell you all about it. Here we are. So let me just, because we are in the truck. Mater, oot oot. Anyway, so you're gonna be watching me while I'm driving, so if I don't look at you directly, forgive me, I do have to drive. Anyway, oh, look at that, there's a hole in the road. It says water, obviously a water meter. Anyway, the weather report out here is quite lovely. It is partly cloudy with a chance of meatballs. But anyway, on to where we are at and why we are here. I took it upon myself this morning to get up not early enough and venture out. Oh wow, $7.99 special for fish, burger, wings, and shrimp. Okay, that's fair enough. I don't mind that. Air conditioning not doing so hot. That's something else to fix. Lovely. Anyway, oh my God, home fries riding bicycle on freaking railroad tracks. That's insane. Yeah, this is definitely the more interesting part of town. But anyway, for those of you that don't know, there are places that you can go and buy used auto parts. And one of them, if you recognize this hand stamp, let us know in the comments because, yeah, I guess those yellow lines in the road don't mean anything. I just got passed by a Ford Ranger. Anyway, so to start this story, I'm going to shout out to a soda brand that did not pay me and does not get enough attention. They don't advertise. And if you have a soda brand that you like that you feel does not get enough recognition because they don't advertise or whatever, put it in the chat and let us know. Because I love that I love that underdog shit. You know what I mean? The stuff that you don't really ever see. In fact, I'd love to see your thoughts on some of these other brands, and I'd like to try them myself. You know, there is eBay. I can always buy this stuff. But anyway, on to the story. This place, which allows you to take your own tools and remove the parts yourself and then pay for them and then bring them home, has a website. I'm not going to give up their name because I am not interested in giving them recognition at the moment. I am currently pissed off at them because I went here, I drove 2 hours this morning to get here to Birmingham. Oh, by the way, if you're listening, that's Dead Zealous. That is music that should be copyrighted, but isn't. In fact, their YouTube channel is still up. The band's not together anymore, at least as far as I know. It's a video that I videoed for them, so just type it in and you'll find it. But anyway, because the next song is copyrighted, I'm going to go ahead and turn it off. If it'll turn off. There we go. Just turn it down. That's close enough. Anyway, so I figured I would look on because I have bumpers and headlights and things for this car, but I do not have a driver's side rear door. And it dawned on me that it would be much better to buy one that's already in good shape, that's already the right color, that I could just bolt it on. It'll save time, and at this place it'll be cheaper because all the extra labor and all the extra materials in order to make the car door match the rest of the car adds to the cost of the repair. And so I look on their website and I look for that particular model. I go, oh, yes, 2010 Ford Fusion, la la la, and it comes up. And you know, you can search based on location. And I chose all of the ones that are near me, being Birmingham being the one that I chose. But you can also choose, in my area, also all 3 of the Atlanta ones, and Augusta showed up for some reason. Anyway, whatever. Not important. What is important is that at this location, I found 3 of them that were the right color, and I was like, that's excellent. That improves my chances of getting a good one that's already painted, that I could just bolt on and everything's cool. That was my mentality. That's why I came out here this morning instead of going to watch the race, which it's 11:30 Alabama time, so I think they're like 10 minutes away from getting started. I know that when I drove by, it was already getting packed and it was already busy, which is curious, because if you've never been to a Talladega race, I suggest that you go. It's very, very cool if you're into stock car racing at all. In fact, if you have a favorite race that you like to go to, put one in the chat so this way we can see it. Again, that's more stuff that I love reading. I love reading this stuff. Anyway, so I get into it as far as, okay, I'm going to go here, right next to Shuttleworth's International, Birmingham's International Airport. About, I don't know, maybe 5-6 miles away is this place. For those of you that haven't already figured it out, that's sad that you haven't already figured it out. Oh good, we have traffic. I get to talk to you some more. Excellent. I can't believe I just said that. Anyway, I wonder what kind of accident I'm stuck in. Oh dear, someone has hit the guardrail. The guardrail has... I don't even think that's this accident. I think that's something else, because the guardrail's right there and the traffic is... Anyway. I am on Sevilla Road. Anyway. So anyway, I go there and I start walking around and looking at these cars. Now, I also remembered while I was there that the Ford Fusion was also known as, in 2010, which is the one I'm looking at, it was also known as the Mercury Milan. And I was like, okay, that improves my chances even more. And the one thing that I noticed, God, I should have taken US 78. This is slow and boring. That's what traffic's like. Anyway, so while I was out, in fact, God, I'm rambling. Here's the traffic. Look at that. Just sitting. I'm on I-20 and just sitting. This is the kind of stuff that they make fun of right here. I can safely do that because we're going precisely bicycle speed. Anyway. Oh, look, that guy's backing down. He don't want any part of it. He's like, no, I think I'll go back to Popeye's Chicken and get another sandwich. That's what he's doing. Anyway, I keep rambling. So, I go there. I get ready. I'm in the truck. I got my tools. I got my cameras because I wanted to film the thing. I was going to film it. I was going to film me removing the door. And in fact, when I finally find a yard that does have these, I will be taking the camera with me. Mark my words, I'm going to do it, whether the yard likes it or not. So, anyway, I want to get this stuff off. This is pissing me off. Anyway, the yard puts the cars into place using a forklift, and that's not unusual. Pretty much every wrecking yard does it. The problem is that it... Oh, shoot, I wasn't supposed to say that. Sorry. Among other things that weren't supposed to happen this morning. Anyway, at this wrecking yard, of which I might have to bleep that out, I'm not really sure. But anyway, at this aforementioned wrecking yard, they move them around and position them with a forklift, or maybe it's some kind of post hole digger that has tongs or whatever. But what I saw really got under my skin, because there were 3 cars that otherwise would have had absolutely perfect doors. They would have been flawless. I would have been able to grab one, pay them all of my money for that door, and then just bolt it on, and I would have been happy as a clam. The problem was that every single one of them was damaged in exactly the same way and in exactly the same place. And so I got frustrated and I started I photographed them, because at that point I was just pulling my phone out of my camera, out of my pulling my camera phone out of my pocket and just hitting a button and going, yep, there's another one that's got it. There's another one that's got it. And what's bad is that it wasn't just that model of car. It was all over the yard. There were cars all over the yard that had this problem. And it was all the driver's side rear. I mean, I have a picture of, I think there was a Ford Ranger in there, that the cab was just ruined from that. And I think there was also a F-150 extended cab that had the suicide doors that had identical marks on it. And the doors would have otherwise been fine. They probably would have been sellable, except the dents were deep enough to where the door, there's no way you could have straightened it. It was stupid. So I don't know, and I'll put those photos up when I edit this together, because I am going to throw those up in there and put that up in there. So in other words, my frustration comes from the fact that today I thought I was going to do this, and I thought it was going to be an excellent, everything's going to be cool, and it was going to give you guys something cool to watch, and also provide me with the parts to make this project happen, so that y'all would have more to watch, and that I would have, in the end, a finished car that I can drive around in and tell you all about. The problem is that because of the way it went, now I'm driving back in walking speed traffic. Actually, the traffic I'm not even that frustrated by. It's the fact that I came all this way, and the pictures did not show anything beyond the front of the car, so you couldn't really tell what the sides looked like. Which means that you had no way of knowing, apart from the fact of the color, Because if I hadn't have known that those cars looked that way, I probably wouldn't have came out here. And that brings me to this point, is that these guys that work in these yards, a lot of them know that this stuff is merchandise, and that it is sellable merchandise, and that it pays their salary. But I imagine some of them do not know this. Either that, or they do know and they don't care. Either way, the fact that that is even a thing gets under my skin, because I'm sure I'm not the only one that's experienced this. I'm certain of it. I am certain that I am not the only one that has had this problem. It can't be. So I would put out a recommendation of said wrecking yard. Oh, they're broke down. Oh, that's sad. That's a sad spot to break down. Oh man, I feel bad for them. Sad face. Anyway, enough about that. I feel for them and I pray for them anyway. Hope that all goes well. But now we're moving along. I'm currently, I don't know, we're doing some miles an hour. In the sun, it's kind of hard to read this gauge without turning my light on, and I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to say, I'm accelerating at the same speed as everybody else. Everything's cool. And I imagine you probably do that too. Anyway, this is the point I want to make. Why is it that some of these wrecking yards don't care? Why? They know that that's merchandise. They know that if you damage it, you can't sell it. Are they just such high volume that they just don't care? Because if that's the case, I might have to change my whole approach here. I mean, the whole reason for coming out here was that this door was probably going to end up costing me less than $200 installed. I mean, and that's including the fuel to get out here. Of course, that just went out the window. Along with that. So I would make an appeal to these wrecking yards. Please do us a favor. Please do yourself a favor. Make sure that when you are placing these items in your yard, that you do your dead level best to not damage any of them, because sometimes this stuff is rare. This morning wasn't exactly a big deal, because this is a model of car that they made a blue million of, and finding another yard that has these in stock is not going to be an issue. There will be, the likelihood that I'll find this door is not a big deal. There will be one. It's just an aggravation this morning. But let's say that you go to a wrecking yard and there's, I don't know, let's call it a, let's say that it's a 1950 Morris Mini. No, a Morris Minor. That's even rarer. 1950 Morris Minor. Let's suppose that that's what you're looking for. You're looking for a driver's side door. And then somebody tells you, hey, I have found a 1949 Morris Minor that happens to be the same body and same pressing, same everything. And it's at such and such yard. You know, I mean, they have it there right now. I mean, I'd call them. And then after I'm done with speaking with my buddy who told me about it, I would call them. And then they'd be like, yep, we have it on the yard, ready for you to come get. Okay. Hop in the car, or in this case, the truck. Really hard to put a door in the back of the Ford Fusion. That's why I didn't drive it today, otherwise I would have. But anyway, you drive there, you get there, and then it has a massive just gouge in the side of it, or it's been scraped inward in a complex dent fashion that prevents the door from being usable. What do you do? I mean, that's the only one in existence. Do you have to buy it? Comment in the chat if you think that it's worth buying if it's that bad. Because I personally don't. I mean, you can straighten the metal to a certain extent, but after you get past a certain point, it's not worth it. I don't know. It just, at this point, it kind of looks like I might be looking at getting a new door instead of a used one. And I'm not sure I like that idea, because that's going to make the cost of the repair skyrocket. But anyway, enough about that. I would appeal to these wrecking yards, all of them. I don't care who they are. I'm sure that some of you take care of your merchandise and you don't damage it when you're putting it back there. I'm sure that some of you even secure the place, and that's why you don't let average Joes go back there with a screwdriver. I get that. And that's not what I'm talking about. The damage I saw didn't come from average Joes. These things were damaged by a forklift. They were all damaged in exactly the same way, in exactly the same place. And every single door that I found that would have otherwise been usable was damaged beyond repair because of how the car was handled when it was placed in position in the road. And that's what frustrates me, is because none of that was visible in the pictures, because they didn't put up a picture of the side. They put up a picture of the front of the car and said, here's your picture, here it is. And then they put a disclaimer on the side that says your car may not look like this when you get there. I get that. If somebody does something and if it falls off the stones, and then as a result it's dented, that I can understand. I mean, it's bring your own tools. Everybody's allowed on the yard. But when it's damaged that way from the get-go, before any of the customers see it, that's a huge red flag. And I don't think any of y'all will disagree with me on that it's extremely frustrating to find out when you get there that the door that you're looking at is only damaged because somebody on the yard who is an employee was careless. And so, I don't know, that just brings that rant to a nice big blunt edge. And yeah, it is a bit of a rant. And it's been going on for 20 minutes. And I appreciate you for listening. And so does my buddy Sam here. See? Sam appreciates it too. He's my driving buddy. Or at least he is when we're in the... He's our driving buddy when we're in here. Isn't that right, Sam? Say yes. That's right. Yeah, my little koala bear. There, I'm going to put it back on my dashboard. Anyway. So in closing, I hope you are well. And I hope that you have lots of fun things to do today. And I hope that you don't have to deal with this sort of thing with the wrecking yards either. However, if you do have that sort of thing, Barber Motorsports Park. Yeah, I'm a bit ADHD right now. Barber Motorsports Park, yay! 1, 2, 3, 4. Anyway, I could stop off and see the motorcycle museum. Anyway, nah, I gotta get home. I got other stuff to do. Anyway, as I was saying, comment down in the chat if you have an experience with a wrecking yard that you did not like. Or that said, if you had an exemplary one that you did like, let us know, because I mean, you know, this is all feedback loop. So you know, comment, tell us stories, all that kind of good stuff, because that's really what this is about, isn't it? This is all about you know, sharing experiences, because I consider y'all my friends, and I would like to think that y'all consider me y'all's friend too. So with that, I'm going to end this here, because I want to drive fast, because this is the interstate, and it's Talladega weekend, baby. Anyway, oh my goodness, stay safe, stay dirty, stay classy, and until then, I will see you next time.